Hi everyone, Amy McMillan here. My passion is to help people who suffer from chronic dizziness. I want to share the story of one person who I had the honor of meeting and coaching, and his story really touched my heart after he struggled to overcome dizziness over a decade long, and I am so grateful that I could help him. So let's tune into Mark's story.
Hi, my name is Mark Kessler. This is the brief testimonial of my experience with Amy McMillan's version of vestibular therapy as it relates to treating chronic vertigo. When I first met Amy, I have been struggling with vertigo for over 10 years. It began after one of the many surgeries that I've had for a facial birth defect. It was directly following the surgery that I experienced BPPV, or crystal displacement in the semicircular canals, for the very first time. At the time, I had no idea what it was, and I could not even sleep horizontally as I would become extremely dizzy. I slept vertically, or upright, for over 6 months until one doctor performed the Epley maneuver on me, which theoretically treats the crystals in the posterior canal, and as I understand it, that is all that maneuver is designed to treat. However, several days and weeks afterwards, I was still feeling dizziness. So I ended up sleeping upright or vertically for the next 2.5 years because I could not sleep horizontally or lay down horizontally without feeling very, very dizzy. I sought other therapies and treatments and eventually found a way to sleep horizontally, but the dizziness never really went away. I simply found ways around it. Fast forward roughly 10 years to January of 2023. I had a head cold for about 2 weeks, and during this period the crystals came out of place again. However, I did not recognize the feeling. It was a bit of a different feeling than it had been in the past. And to make a long story short, I had to drop out of my final semester of nursing school and ended up seeing several doctors, including an ENT, a neurologist, and a vestibular cochlear therapist. None of whom could find anything wrong, and at one point I was even told, or it was suggested, that it might be in my head. Needless to say, I felt very discouraged and defeated. A week or so after one of my last doctor's appointments, one of my family members connected me with Amy. She came to my house and set up her therapy table in my living room. She asked detailed questions and made me feel more heard than any of the other doctors ever had. She put the dark goggles over my eyes and had me lay in different positions. Those dark goggles connect to a computer which track eye movement if the crystals are moving within your ears. Sure enough, it was subtle, but she found crystals in my left posterior and right horizontal canal. To be clear, not only was this the first time in my life that I'd ever heard or learned that the crystals could be in multiple canals at the same time, but one of the other doctors from a very prestigious hospital system was very clear with me that he knew that there were not crystals in my ears. This doctor had used the exact same goggles test that Amy used. Amy not only helped to put the crystals back in place through a series of very simple head maneuvers, but she also taught me therapeutic grounding methods in order to teach my brain how to balance without feeling like I was spinning. I met with one of the leading doctors within the UH system for vestibular and equilibrium disorders, who essentially told me that the most likely reason I had still been feeling the vertigo after all these years was because the crystals had originally been in my ears for so long that they had permanently tricked my brain into feeling the experience of nystagmus, which is your eyes spinning. And even though the stimulus of the original crystals was no longer there. Amy's therapeutic techniques have dramatically changed the way that my brain processes vertigo. While I'm still undergoing therapy, I have seen significant changes in my ability to sleep and function that I haven't seen in over a decade before starting her version of therapy. I have every intention of continuing to follow Amy's therapeutic regimen for as long as it takes to see permanent results, which I now believe, for the first time in a very long time, might actually be possible. I highly recommend pursuing Amy's treatment methods if you feel like you might have similar struggles with dizziness. Amy is super kind, super personable, and it's clear that she very much cares about her clientele and their improvement. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope that this testimonial might be an encouragement that if you struggle with vertigo, there is future hope for very positive change.
Mark is just one of the many people that I have been honored to help overcome their struggle with chronic dizziness. His case was unique because I was able to find BPPV as well as his chronic dizziness, which I was able to attribute to PPPD, or persistent postural-perceptual dizziness. When I met him, he was at a low point and not very functional. Through treating his BPPV and listening to him and implementing my 5-step approach in the Macmillan method with treating chronic dizziness, I was able to regain his function and his life. I am happy to announce that he has re-enrolled in nursing school and completed. He has a full-time nursing job. He participates in religious festivities and activities. He participates again in hiking and volleyball, continuing education courses with nursing. And he is currently weaning off all of the medications that he had been taking for years long for his dizziness. And I am just so proud of him and just amazed at his perseverance and his resilience in dealing with this chronic dizziness. If you are in a similar situation where you think you've tried everything, I would love a chance to help you. Here's what some of the other people I have been able to help are saying. So I'm just going to read a couple testimonials that I've received. So this is from Patti. As a result of a cervical spine issue, I've struggled with sensory and balance issues for months. I started researching online and came across Amy Macmillan and her impressive YouTube videos. She was very responsive to my comments, and I ended up booking a call with her, which led to working with a Zoom coaching call. Although we're on separate coasts, she's been instrumental in my healing. She created a very personal exercise plan for me, answering all my questions with patience and care. I'm extremely impressed with Amy and her knowledge, her timelines in responding to me, and so much more. I would highly recommend working with Amy, especially if you struggle with any type of vestibular limitations or issues. If you're not local to Ohio, it doesn't matter. She's my go-to person. Thanks, Patti. Marie. I was 2 years into my struggle with vestibular hypofunction, vestibular migraine, and post-COVID dizziness. I was working out in the Vestibular Fit program, seeing Dr. Shin Bei, listening to Dr. Yo's podcast, and seeing a local neuro-based chiropractor. I was seeing improvements, but I was still about 50% symptomatic and functionally impaired. I was dizzy 3 to 5 out of 10 most days. I couldn't drive more than 10 to 15 minutes. I couldn't go to church. I couldn't walk down the street, go to a restaurant to shop without worrying about how quickly I could get out. Now, I can do all of those things thanks to Amy's method of treating PPPD and chronic dizziness. I believe adding Amy's treatment methods have gotten me to a new level of function and dizziness with even some days can be at a 0. So those are just a couple of the testimonials that I have received recently. So if you're finding that you need some guidance, there are a few ways that you can work with me. First is just a free one-on-one 15-minute phone call just to see if your case, if you've tried everything and you just need some coaching on where to go next, if you need any other tests, if you should see any other providers. That's the first way. Second is to look for my new book on Amazon and all online major bookstores, The Macmillan Method, How to Treat Chronic Dizziness and PPPD, the workbook. I will link that in the comments and the description. And also I will put a card right here that links to a behind the scenes what is in this PPPD workbook. And then third is my one-on-one vestibular coaching program. So this is great for those who may not have a local vestibular therapist or have tried a vestibular therapist, have tried the doctors and are just not feeling like they have been heard or listened to, or have tried everything and they just want to see how to take it to the next level. Is there anything that maybe you have been missing? And I will also put that in the descriptions as well, a little bit more about that vestibular coaching program and exactly what that is. So hopefully you enjoyed this video, and until I see you next week, stay healthy, stay steady, and stay strong.